let's work together to make all of your music the best it can possibly be.
Mark teaches music.
Bang, tick, bang, tick, bang.
Have fun, be awesome.
I hope that's not as loud for you as it is for me, but hi, I'm Mark Black, and this is Mark Teaches Music. This is our live stream to play and sing, and this is number 79. And so someday I'm going to get this all working together. It's getting better. So this is all about learning to play and sing. Duh, the name. And so it's about developing skill, about your personality is so important. Just what you think the music is about is affected completely by your music. And what encourages you when you play, or does it encourage you that you played it correctly? Does it encourage you that you were creative? Does it encourage you that you were masterful? These are different people. Does it encourage you that you took great risk and tried really hard and got something cool? That's all a part of your personality. So anyway, point is that super important. Music theory, improvising, performing issues, defeating stage fright. Let me know how that turns out. About being in bands, jazz bands, orchestras, choirs, leading them or just being in them. And we're talking about any style, any level. Yeah, pretty much. Voice and guitar and woodwinds and fretted instruments and keyboard, piano and music theory and songwriting and just rock and blues and jazz and last week we talked about barbershop, but and my favorite is Zydeco and cantas and norteña, and so how to develop your ear. So I want to help you to fix the things that are holding you back. And I also want to move this screen so I can see the chat. Hey there, TDB. It's good to see you. So anyway, so now listen, in case you're wondering what happens in a Q&A, you need to drop your questions over here in the chat and ask me questions. And because that's the real reason, the real way that everything would work like it's supposed to work. So to find things that you put in here, and you don't have to put your name. You can just say, hey, I was wondering, how to finger a B flat on a E flat clarinet. And I'd say, I don't know. So bring all your questions, and we'll learn amazing things. So last week we talked about breathing and how not to run out of breath, and I talked about there's 4 keys to fixing that, and I talked about the first one, and I gave an exercise on how to develop that. That was number 78, and as well as talking about some ideas on how to fix that. Not just like ideas, but like things that really work. And we talked about the reason that most people learn music theory and the benefit for them, for most people. And we talked about learning to play by ear, and hint, that's what music theory is for most people, and rightly so. Not like that's a loser thing. That's a wonderful thing. It's like the idea is that I'm going to get on this mic. It doesn't look like I'm getting a very big signal. I have no idea why that is. So anyway, we talked about, so music theory is, what I talked about, just by the way, is explaining to your brain what you're hearing. Your ear's hearing well and correctly, but it really can't speak and can't say, well, that was a minor 7 chord, or that was a C minor 7 chord, or that was the minor 2, whatever. It can't hear that. It can't explain that. And your brain's got to be taught what you're hearing is this, And once you get that, my gosh, I give the example all the time that there's 3 ways to learn. And the 3 ways to learn are your brain, your hands or your voice, the physical mechanism, and your ear. Those are the 3 ways you can learn. There's no other ways. And so as a gross generalization, we could look at classical music as your brain and your fingers, your technique, and rock music, pop music is your ear and your fingers. And that's a gross generalization. Again, that's not even close. But the idea is that there's a bunch of music that's mostly about how it sounds, and I'm not reading, and look how good I am. And another one is I'm giving all these details, and I have to read, and I have to play well. But the great musician, the best musician, the easiest way to learn as a musician is to do all three. You understand what you're doing. You can hear and identify what you're doing. You can use your ear to project ahead what's coming up, and you're skillful in your technique. You put those things together, and none of them has to be amazing, but cumulatively it is totally butt kicking. So that's what you want, is all three. So anyway, um, that's what we like, is to be music theory, ear understands, and we're skillful. And so all those things working together, none of them has to work as hard, but together they work amazingly. So we talked about AI's impact on listeners, performers, and creators, what I thought, and I'd love to know what you think about it. Truly, it would be a wonderful thing to know. Talked about taking lessons with me, which of course is muy importante. You should do that. And email me at Mark at Dallas Music Lessons, or go to the website DallasMusicLessons.com and just check it out and see if you want to take lessons. But you should. You take online lessons with me, or in studio if you're here in the Dallas area. So we talked about every day in your lesson. This is last week, 78. Talked about every day in your lesson you should be practicing and you should be performing both things. And we talked about how to use your enemies and friends to perform better, more better. And that's exactly right. So, so again, put your questions in the comments. You can also send me a question and email at Mark at Dallas Music Lessons, and that'd be great. So anyway, so now looking at questions and things that came from my students today. So not today, this last 7 days. And so here's one, super important, and it is, I don't remember, I certainly have talked about it before here and in lessons, of course. I don't think I've done a topic with it, but active listening. Active listening. And active listening is the process I'm telling you to do with your music. And you're super great, you need to do this. You're just a very beginner, you need to do this. And of course, anyway, and the deal is, this is especially important for singers, but it's important for everybody, is to you let the song play, and you are focused on what the song is doing. Every single thing the person sings or the guy plays, whatever he's doing, and you're listening to every single thing. You're totally engaged. If it's a voice, you're singing. If it's an instrument, you're playing, except you don't make a sound. So you're just totally engaged, and you notice things like, oh, he cut that off. Oh, he held that out. Oh, he went higher. Oh, there was 3 notes there. I wasn't, because you're engaged in it. You're singing in it, you're in your head, or you're playing in your mind, hearing what the notes will be. He goes here and you go there, and you notice, oh, my image is incorrect. And again, if you already have a great ear or you've been working, then you'll be picking up more and more and more subtle things. But the idea, or an idea in there, is that, man, the greatest musicians in the world learned every single. There's nobody who was locked up in a box until they were 22 and then let out, and then without any reference to anything, just began to play greatly. There's nobody like that. Everybody, the great musicians in the world, listened to other musicians, and they got all these things from them, and they came up with their own amalgam of what, this guy and this guy and this guy, and then what I put in, and I whoop them all together, and there's your Sunday split. There's you. And so anyway, you're listening to these guys, and like Luciano Pavarotti, I know you've been thinking about him. He did not read music. Think about that. Great, one of the greatest operatic tenors in our generation, never read music. And he would listen to the great performances. And of course, he's Italian. His father's was an opera singer, and so he knew all. He was immersed in this milieu, in this genre of music. But he would listen to these greats sing the aria. He was going to sing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, versions, and he would absorb it. So active listening is grabbing the details. It can be as prosaic as, oh, I thought there were 3 notes. There's only 2. It can be as majestic and intimate as, I love the way he decrescendoed. I love the way he had a very full tone. I'm talking about instruments. So active listening, and just for a vocalist, let me just say, if you're discouraged about, not being able to hit not the range of notes, but notice the notes. So just by the way, you could not sing with the as a vocalist. Now, real quick about the vocalist. If you're a vocalist, you couldn't sing with the original. If I start singing a song, if I start um, singing, nobody knows this song. Life's so full of crazy irony. You can't sing with me because you don't know what I'm saying. Life's so full of crazy ironies. Now you can sing with me because that's what I just sang. The point is, you couldn't sing, as Tom Singer real quick, you couldn't sing with the original if you didn't already kind of know what you're going to sing. You can't make the micro changes. It's like trying to play, you know, that Bach piece in B minor. You couldn't play along that by ear. You couldn't respond that quickly to, I don't even know what he's going to do, and suddenly he's doing something different. You couldn't do that. So the point is that right at the moment for the vocalist is that saying if you can sing with the original, then you can sing by yourself. You can sing the karaoke or you can sing by yourself correctly. And so you're using the original, to soak up the details. And it could be, like I said, as simple, as basic as just what are the notes? I don't know what to sing. And it could be as detailed as I think he used the forked, thinking oboe real quick, which is what my degree is in. But I was going to say forked F, but he wouldn't be using that. But I think he used the forked F. He should have used the side F, and or whatever. And the details, utterly detailed. So I'm just saying, from the rank beginner to majestic, active listening, paying close attention to get exactly what's being played from the masters that you love, or just some song you think is pretty cool. So, okay, now I'm working on perfecting this. So here we go. And I'm going to a new topic, and watch me. I'm going to switch. Yay, look at that. Okay, so another thing that came up this week and comes up constantly is ergonomics. And ergonomics is, basically the science of there's sort of an official definition, but the idea is, looking at how human beings, their bodies actually work, and how their hand twists and how their back works and all this kind of stuff, and trying to design things and make things fitting of that. And so, for example, they have a hammer in which instead of holding, hammers straight, you have to hold your hand like this. No, here's here like this, but that doesn't actually fit your hand. I don't agree with this on this particular one, but they'll have a hammer that comes out, a handle and out, and so you're hammering like that, because that does fit your hand better. So the same way with anything. So you've seen ergonomic chairs where they don't have a back and they got you kind of sitting forward, and they're saying, hey, your body is like this, works like this. Let's make that match. And so in a student and then various students, I just want to, if you are, this goes for vocalists too, but this would be more for instrumentalists to think of. I'm telling you that the ways to hold your hands, and your strap, and how to stand and how to sit, and they should, almost everything should feel very natural and comfortable. Should not feel like weird and awkward and hard to do, and things like that. And so you should take notice of that. Guitarist, if you got pain in your forearm, you've got your hand feels cramped, right hand, left hand, your wrist is hurting, these things. You need to notice these things and fix them. Saxophonist, one of the first things in the first or second lesson, like this is an example. This is an example, right? But is turning that horn to where you feel both arms relax, both forearms are relaxing, because if you just do it normally, usually this right hand is cramped, it's squished up like this, and not like this. And so you turn that horn, and it's actually usually not straight. It's an example. The flautist, you have to notice your thumb and your little fingers, and are they squished? Do you have that back joint turn so it matches where your little pinky is? So you're not squishing the pinky in or trying to reach, and same, the bass, gigantic. To if you're not a big person, the bass is huge. Do you have it centered in your body? Are your arms relaxed? When you're plucking, you're using mostly, the rest stroke. Is your not plucking, but your fingering. And so on and on and on and on and on. And making adjustments to your physical setup. I'm talking about what you're doing, including the way you hold your instrument, totally the way you hold your instrument, the way you're using your embouchure, the way you're doing all these things in these various instruments, and just for the vocalist, the same thing. It's like there's all kind of things we'll talk about. I think we may get to the performance imperative coming up here to talk about in a second, but the voice is the most psychologically intense instrument. If you feel bad, when you play a wrong note on an instrument, you go like, you look at your instrument like, bad instrument. Stop that. Stop, you flute, you clarinet, you played the wrong note, darn it. That's what you act like. But the vocalist feels used, typically, not everybody, but when they mess up, they're flat, whatever, they tend to feel bad about themselves. And I say that from having taught about 1,000 voice students. And myself too, some, a little bit. So the point is, the voice is very psychologically, emotionally intense. So anyway, meaning that when you sing, you really like, I got to do this. I got to get this right. Whether you do or not, it's not the issue, but you feel like you have to. So anyway, point is, so that, like, one of the biggest times, told many students, this is that one of the biggest times to develop bad habits on the voice is when you start working on the voice. You start getting serious, start practicing, spending time, and you want it to be right. And next thing you know, your neck is stiff and you're hunched and you're singing too loud or too soft or got your jaw locked. Big thing happens, all these things. So I'm telling you to look at, all you instrumentalists and all you vocalists, to look at the ergonomics of what you're doing. Does it feel comfortable to play? Not every single thing is comfortable, but the majority of the things should be done comfortably, and find a way to make them comfortable. And you could get on here and ask me questions and say, my thumb is hurting me. I'm playing the saxophone. What am I doing wrong? Which is a real saxophone thing, and my flautist, for example, are my mouth is having muscle spasms. What am I doing wrong? And in that case, it's not doing anything wrong, probably, except you haven't practiced enough recently, so your muscles in the right position, the right embouchure, are not working right. So anyway, ergonomics, looking at how your body's made and what is working for it. So, okay, now, guess what I got to do? Check this out. You'll never believe it. Let's make it do it. That's so far away. Look, it's time for another topic. Okay, another topic is, so we're talking about a minute ago about active listening. And I just want to focus for a moment. Again, this is all based on students' stuff. And that is the developing your ear. And developing your ear. You guys, I just said a minute ago, the perfect musician, as in not what I'm saying is the easiest to do, is you understand what the music is. It's the one chord, that's a minor seven. It's a minor, the six is a minor seven. Your ear can say, I hear a minor seven. Oh, that's the minor six. Your ear can actually hear that. Your ear does hear that. That's the only way music works. It hears things in comparison. It says, if you were here, now we're here. It's the only way it works. So anyway, and then, you do have to practice some, and if not a lot, maybe a lot, at least some. So you have to practice. And so anyway, when you practice, putting those three things together, that is the easiest, because each one could be a third, and there it is, complete awesomeness. Or they could each be 50%, 50, 50, 50, and you play 150 percentile, and you're just freaking amazing because you're doing all the things. So you want to develop your ear for everybody. It's certainly not a vocalist thing, although developing your ear is a vocalist thing. But it's so many things. Telling your partner, singing, hey, you're sharp, you're flat, here's the third, singing in tune, playing in tune, activity, you hear these sounds in your head, you're on your guitar, you hear these sounds, and what is that? What did you just hear? Was it a pentatonic? Was it a blue scale? Was it a blue note? What was it? So you're training your ear to hear these things. So just to mention something pretty simple, and I'm going to use this not plugged in, so it will come over this mighty microphone. Let's see how loud this is. Let's do this. So if you play a chording instrument, and just let me commend you, the site musictheory.net has got exercises at the bottom of the exercise page, musictheory.net, at the bottom of the exercise page, there are oral exercises. It'll play chords for you and say, it'll let you, is that a, dominant 7 chord? What is that? And you can select, you can just start with just major and minor. It's just as a major chord, it's a minor chord. So it's a very good thing, and it can do tones and intervals and all kind of great stuff. It's a very good site. But today, I just want to say you're playing a chord. So here you are playing a chord. I'm turning sideways so that you can, let's do the major. So here's a simple exercise to develop your ear, and that is, here we sing these notes. It's a chord. And so sing those notes of this chord that I'm hearing. Now, it doesn't matter what this chord is. It could be, but I'm going to take this chord. So I'm hearing the tone. So the first tone I hear is ba. Now, in the next tone I hear is ba. I'm singing the chords. Singing the chord. I'll make it da 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 da. I'm hearing those tones da 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 da. And I'm gonna play another chord. I'll play this chord. Ba 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 ba. Try singing it with me. Bum 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 bum. Girl. Ba 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 ba. Here's another chord. Let's see this chord. Ba 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 ba. And I'm trying to stay away from the ones I'm gonna do in a minute. Okay. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Now try singing this by yourself. Just try it. And I'm gonna do it real slow. Ba ba ba. Then have to go back down. Okay, I'm gonna do one more. Try. And it's okay if you don't do them in order. Doing them in order is sort of tidy, a good way to kind of organize things, but that's not what's being presented. Bum, 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 bum. It's not what's being played. What here is boom, boom. Well, okay, I'm wrong. Boom, 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 boom. Is there. All right, now do this one for me. Well, that's enough. So that was major. Now let's just do minors. Here's a A minor. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Let's do this one. Boom, 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 boom. Let's do this one. Boom, 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 boom. Let's do this one. Boom, 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 boom. Now you try this. Just try it. And I'm gonna do it. Boom, 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 boom. And let's do just do odd sounding. Well, it's a minor 7, shouldn't do that. Try it. Da, 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 da. So that's just from chords you can play. Now, once you can do that, and when you can mess with that and get kind of close to that, then you can just try playing a note. Let's try this note. I'm going to try to go a major chord. Ba, 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 ba. Bum, 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 bum. Here's one. Try to hear it ahead. Try to hear it ahead. Push your ear ahead. Dun, 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 dun. Let's go to this one. Just because that's high, you have to go da. You just go ba, da, da, ba, 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 ba. And do a couple of minors. Here's the minor right here. Remember the minor, how it sounded? Here's an A minor. Oh, so let's try this. And here's a minor. Boom, boom, boom. sorry. Yeah, we'll try that one. Boom, boom, boom. And from a note, boom, boom, boom. Bad example. Ooh, knows how the different things we mess around, they kind of challenge your ear. You kind of like don't know what to do. Do, do, do. That's the major. And do, do, do. And the last one. Boo, minor. Mm-hmm. Now, if you missed that, and missed a bunch of them, most of them, that's okay. The point is, what I'm getting at is that there's simple ways you can start developing your ear to where you can hear what you need to hear, and that would be so many things. But the idea is that you can learn to hear all these things, and then they become you are able to hear notes that you want to add in your song, on and on and on. All these really great things. So anyway, so I'm inviting you to jump into the world of developing your ear. And some people are temperamentally, remember we talked about the personality thing in the beginning, some people are temperamentally, um, and don't tell me you can't sing. Has nothing to do with singing. My theory teacher, one of my theory teachers, we had to do, a lot of sight singing ear training. And he said, meaning we're constantly in the various theory instructors' offices, students, junior, freshman and sophomore, having to sing every week, sing things to develop our ears. And he said I had a voice like a saxophone. He did not mean that as a compliment. So what I'm saying is so you not being able to sing is not the issue. Some people like to develop their ears. Some people hate the idea because they just want to read notes. There's nothing wrong with reading notes, but like I said, that perfect musician can do all three. Perfect, not as in world-class, famous, but just as in good musician. He can handle lots of things. He can play along with other people. He can read the music, and he can play or sing pretty skillfully. So that's a great thing. So anyway, now watch this. Well, look at me. I'm going to do this. Okay, so I got to go now. Let's see. I'm going to look over here and say, hey, and so you over there in the B-roll, you should be taking lessons with me. You can take online lessons, and you can take in-studio lessons, and go to Mark, or send me an email at mark@dallasmusiclessons.com and take online lessons with me, or go to the website www.dallasmusiclessons.com and check out lessons. They'll be great. We'll both enjoy it a lot. All right, so I'm back, So last week I said I talked about breathing issues, or how to solve your breathing issues, not to run out of breath. And so in that same conversation from now 2 weeks ago, I talked about the 4 things that will solve your running out of breath, and not being able to support and all this kind of stuff. Breath control is many things. Makes your instrument sound amazing, makes your voice sound amazing, lets you get to the end of a passage. It lets you sing higher notes, and long notes, of course, and things like that. So it's very necessary. So what we talked about was filling up. And it's not natural to fill all the way up. And so it's also not natural. Here's the second thing. It's also not natural to push all the way out. So when I'm talking to you, I haven't taken a breath in about 10 seconds. I'm talking, we're talking about music, we're talking about life, I'm talking to show you how much air is in my lungs. I'm still talking. I wanted to breathe a long time ago. I'm still talking to make pushing air. I push. Took that long to get all the air out of my lungs. So the second thing is we do not push all the air out. We have no natural habit of pushing all the air out. So the problem is again, we don't fill up as much. That was number one. But then the second thing is we just push out about a third, and there's still about half as much air, half a lungful of air still in us. So we're not pushing it all out, which enables us to hold things out longer and all the things I said. So that is a little harder to get a hold of in terms of an ergonomic natural thing. But here's things that people do. And so first off, make this sound with like a snake or whatever. I'm just going TST, but I got my tongue on the roof of my mouth. I'm going to get off the mic so it's not so bluey, but So, and the reason we're doing that instead of is there's no resistance when we just go. So, whether if you're playing a wind instrument or you're singing, your vocal cords are you're flapping. You got something. There's something stopping the air. And if you're playing an instrument, you're playing a trumpet, you're playing a tuba, you're playing a clarinet, you're playing a flute. Flute doesn't have as much resistance, which is why the flute takes as much air as a tuba player, because it is a little bit more like. So that's a bad example. But all the others, the point is when you play that note, you make that note, and you're pushing against something. There's some resistance. There's your lips for the brass. There's the reed in the little opening for the oboe, with an opening as big as the end of a pencil. You're pushing through this tiny hole, that big. So anyway, there's resistance. You have to get used to pushing against resistance. So don't do this. Do this. But I want to give you some other examples of things that you can do. And just blowing through a straw. It needs to be a small straw. I'm pushing. But I got to try to push all the air out. And that's really coming out too quick. So if I was really going to do this, I'm pinching into this now. It's going to take so long to push this out because I've got it pretty close. And I'm pushing all the air out. I want you to do that. Another thing, the third thing people do is you put, this is a great thing to do, they put a piece of paper on the wall and then push, blow, and to try to hold that paper up there. Now, I don't think that's the best. And but the idea, concentrating, pushing out air. Now, this is a hilarious one. And I give these to my students. This is like a little party favor. I don't know if you can see this here. It's a little party favor. Watch this. Something to push against. So out of those four ideas, the best one is going. Now, like I said yesterday or last week, I'm sorry, that when you're pushing all this out, do not attempt. Don't do this like in full up, all in, and push all the way out, and you'll hyperventilate within about 6 or 7 intakes and outtakes. So when you're pushing on this, you're trying to learn a habit. So you might do it 5 times, and the idea is to push all the air out. And this is a big deal. This is you getting to the end of the phrase. Your body, there's only about, I think it's 15 to 20% of the air, the gas we live in. Oxygen's only about 15 or 20%. So the point is when you breathe in, only about, a quarter at the most of what's in your lungs is feeding your body. So when you're pushing the air out, just singing or playing, right about here, the body goes, I'd like to breathe again. I'd like some more oxygen. But there's plenty of gas in there for you to push the air. So we're learning to push all the air out so that we can push all the air out. And so I'll do one more, maybe running kind of late. And if we are, I'm sorry. And that is performance imperative. And that is so much of both good. So I'm telling you, you need to perform every day, and you need to perform in front of somebody as often as you can. And that's one person. And it doesn't matter if it does. It's actually maybe preferable that you're not in a vulnerable place, like up on a stage. It's like, you're playing for your friend, you're playing for your mom, you're playing for whoever. And again, I said last week that it's good if you have a little pressure on that. You feel under pressure, a little bit of pressure, or at least a manageable amount of pressure, and so that you can learn, hey, I can get through this, I can make some mistakes, and I'm still alive, and that person, didn't get sick listening to me, So one of the reasons you perform is not stage fright. It is performing, and talking about every day, as for others, is not stage fright. It is that when you think you're performing, when you feel like you're performing, you play differently. You sing differently. You make a mistake and you move on. You try to make things excellent because somebody's watching, somebody's listening. Performance imperative, performance command. I've got to do this right, because there's an audience, you're performing. So, and that's a positive. A negative of that is that um, it's like the phrase throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You can be so obsessed in a good way. I've got to perform. I got to get through this. Forget this, and this, and this that I learned. This is what we do, just so I can get to the end of this and get done. And people are watching me, so that can develop bad habits. So that is, I'm not in tune. I didn't tune my instrument. I don't really know where I am. I said in the second verse twice. I made not all kind of mistakes. Is I did things poorly and I didn't notice it for the future. So just in the idea of the performance imperative. Good is it makes this real, and you treat the song like it's really important. The music like it's really important, and you try to play it correctly. You don't correct. You don't. You're trying to. What can I do to make this right and real now? That's wonderful. That's really performing. Negative is you got to watch out that the fact that you are performing in whether it's in your practice session by yourself or it's in front of a crowd of 1,000, which I did for multiple years. Not anything famous, but just happened to be in a situation where I could perform daily, 4 or 5 times a week in front of a crowd of 1,000. And it's like, so whether it's just you in your room or in front of 1,000 people, you have to, you getting through, this is the negative part, you getting through is wonderful, but you got to notice, did I do this or that? Did I, am I getting in, like, for example, let's say ad-libbing. People are watching me ad-lib. So instead of being creative with my ad-libbing, I find little things that I can do easily, and I just stick with those. I don't create a new thing. So I'm giving an example. It's just an example. So anyway, performance imperative. So, well, that was loud. I hope you didn't hear that. If you did, there was a monk just went, oh, la, la. So, okay. So anyway, so this is Mark Black. I'm Mark Black. This is Mark Teaches Music. And this is to play and sing number 79. And you should take online lessons with me or in studio lessons and go to www.dallasmusiclessons.com or go to or send me an email at mark at Dallas Music Lessons, or you can drop a comment in there too. And so remember to put your comments in the video. And people are watching these. It's just exciting. People are watching these. I would really love to have y'all's questions. It would help a bunch. But drop your comments in and your questions for future shows. So I want you to have a great week, and I want you to remember to have fun.